Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to actually do an unexpected video. And I just couldn't help myself. I had this really intense nightmare slash dream last night. And I thought, this was so detailed and so complex, and just it kept on going and going like a movie or something. And I felt like this would be a perfect thing to share, because it was just so weird and it was so over the top. It was so scary and horrifying. And I will call it my Saw 11 dream. And I am referring to the Saw series. And I would like to also say this was actually my second dream. I had another one earlier in the evening, but I can't really remember what happened in it, because I woke up and I went to the bathroom, and when you do that, the dream stops. And this one, though, it started off, and I automatically knew that this dream was going to be fucked up, because it had a color tint to it. It had a grading to it, like it was a Saw movie. It had this bluish look, this bluish grayish look a little bit. And so we were on vacation, and I paid for an early screening of the next Saw movie, which is supposed to be Saw 11. And I decided to go outside and walk around. We stayed at a cabin. So this was one of the weird things. Instead of staying at a hotel or even a motel, we stayed at a cabin. And there was a line of cabins. It was really weird. But right off the bat, I got this mysterious package. And when I walked outside, I found this package. And it was horribly packed up. And the packing, it barely held together. It was almost ripped open. It was terribly put together. I took it inside, and I noticed that the name and address were not mine or anyone else's in the house. But I opened it anyway, because it almost looked like something homemade that someone just dropped off, a neighbor or something. And it was also weird how we were getting mail at a cabin. So I opened it up with Safi around, and it was a mysterious children's plush toy of a woman. And I think I know who it is. It's just it might not be. But it was in this red box, it was an officially made toy. And there were two of her. So the first one, she had long black hair, she was Latina, and she had a red dress on. And I'm even going to draw the pictures and everything to demonstrate, because this was so fascinating to me. And then behind her, she had a double. She had another doll. It was the same woman. It was the same toy. But this one didn't have any dress on. It was naked. She was the naked doll, and one of her fingers was cut off, and it was it was sewed onto her in such a way as though it would appear that she was a man. And that was really weird and freaky, at the end of Sleepaway Camp. And so I was really upset about this, and I was even trying to hide that it was there, because it was so creepy, and who sent this to us? What did they want to say to us or something? And I just looked at both of them, and I was like, okay, I'm not dealing with that anymore. And I threw it on the ground, and I was really scared about who gave this to us. It was very creepy. And then later on, and Safi was worried too, she decided that it was so bothersome she wouldn't even think about it. So and keep in mind, this is a dream too, so logic and reasoning are thrown out the window here. So I know that some people might be saying, that sounds dumb. Yeah, I know. Some of this doesn't make sense, but it all makes sense in some kind of a way. But then it was election night later on. And the only thing that I remember is that they announced that Trump won Colorado. And so I was just kind of hesitant to look at the election results as they were coming in, because I don't really like watching political stuff or election results or that type of thing. And I decided to go outside and distract myself. I got $20 from my wallet. I distinctly remember $20, put it in my pocket, and I went outside to walk around and possibly get dinner before I went to the movies. First off, I walked around in back of the cabins, and I don't know what it was like. I cannot even remember. There was something with the ground of where there were these like footprints and there were little drops of blood or something, and the groundskeeper was there though, and I hid from the groundskeeper, and he was doing something mysterious and suspicious, like he was messing around with something that was bad. And then he started talking to this other guy who was very worried, and they were cleaning up something together. And I just moved on, and I just walked away. And right down the pathway from our cabins, there was this restaurant. And it didn't even look like a real restaurant. It looked like a hole-in-the-wall type of thing. And it was like this really old building. And I went inside because I thought, this place looks interesting. I want to see what's inside here. But it was like this expensive restaurant. And I wanted to see if I could eat there. I thought maybe it's closed, too, because it looks so old and so badly held together, too. And there was this woman who was going to take me upstairs to the second floor of the restaurant. She was a waitress. She was very overweight. And she said, yeah, it's fine if you eat here. And we were going upstairs, and for some reason, I don't know why, like it was so weird, out of nowhere, I kept on asking to her, what year is this? Is this 2024? What year is this? Is this 2024? Is this 2024? Is this 2024? And she was like, she just kept looking at me funny and not responding to me. And I just kept on asking it over and over again as we were walking in this line upstairs. And she was like, and finally she was like, yes, it's 2024. And finally, and because they wouldn't respond, by the way, I thought maybe they were ghosts. Because, like, they're not responding because they don't know what time they're in, because they're so, like, fucked up now because they're in, like, limbo world or something. But that was weird. It was like I was a time traveler or something, and I was like, what year is this? Is it 2024? Is it 2024? And finally, we got up the first set of stairs, and we turned to the next set. And instead of stairs being there to the second floor, all that there was a plank of wood. So you had to, like, balance across this plank of wood to get to the second floor. And the second floor of the restaurant was so short that the only way that you could eat up there is if you sat down on the floor itself, and just, like, very, very uncomfortable. I don't even know how, like, the food would be taken up there or anything. Like, it was so weird and creepy and uncomfortable. And when we finally got there, she gave me the menu. And I saw, there's dishes here worth thousands of dollars. How would I be able to pay for this? And then there was another woman in front of us, and she said, no thanks. And she dropped down from the plank to the first floor and left. And the waitress was, like, still leading me up there. But I think the reason I wanted to get to the second floor was they made it seem like you could only get access to these special dishes if you ate on the second floor. Like you could only get access to this historical dish. It was worth like $69,000. That was the approximate number, and I know that that's funny too. And when I got there to the second floor, I was like, I am way too short here. I'm gonna feel claustrophobic, and also it's too expensive. So I dropped down to the first floor too. And that was random, right? And I went outside and I walked around. I saw it was getting time to see Saw X. I mean, not Saw X, Saw XI, aka Saw 11. And then I went into this theater, and there was a lobby. You had a line of rooms. They were the theaters. They were the theater rooms. Then you had elevators. And then to the left of that, you had this waiting area. And there were all these people in the waiting area. It was like an all-red lobby, too. I saw a lot of familiar people, including an old friend that I had in high school. And the people on the elevator, they got onto this elevator, and they were discussing like election results and stuff, and I was curious to know. They made it seem like something really big and terrifying happened, and I was trying to inquire what happened. They wouldn't tell me for certain, though. You know, it was very mysterious and secretive. And then my old friend came up, and he wondered what was going on, too. And we kind of talked about the election a little bit. So then, after that, we decided to go into the theater to see Saw XI. The door opened up for us to go in there. We went in there. There were no lights on, by the way. All of a sudden, the door slammed shut. Now, this, in my opinion, is where the dream got really scary. Like, the rest of the dream was just kind of like up and down, but like this was the part where I was like, oh God, this is creepy. The door slammed shut and the lights turned on. I found myself and 7 other people, including him, were trapped in a gross, small Saw type of room. It looked like the bathroom from Saw 1 in a way. There were three other doors too. There was one door to the left in the corner. There was another door to the left in the other corner, and then one in the other right corner. So there was a door in every corner of the room. Every dark corner. And then there were also other traps. So like there was one next to the door to the left. And it was like a very complicated like trap that looked almost like a cage type of thing with like just this intricate metal stuff, and there were things hanging down. There were these weird traps all over the place. And then there was a TV. The TV dropped down in the center of the room, and a video started playing. And at that moment, it sunk into me that I paid $180 to be put in an actual saw trap. And at first, I was really freaked out because I was like, is this an actual saw trap, or is this just an experience? Is this some kind of like trap room? You know, like those trap rooms that you can do, those escape rooms? I was really freaked out. And my friend went up to the TV and he turned up the volume because, you know, this Jigsaw was so evil that, like, he didn't even care if you heard his video or not. So like, his television was on mute, and he had to go up there and turn up the volume all the way. And that's where Jigsaw says, "Hello, I want to play a game." And then he started talking, and he told us that there's 8 traps around the room for each and every one of you. And we saw each one. And then Jigsaw on video, he showed these videos of how to disarm each and every trap in the room. These detailed instructional videos that went by really, really fast. But we had to disarm these traps before the timer ran out, or we all would lose, or something like that. Or just, we wouldn't all lose. Never mind. That wasn't a specification. And at that point, I was scared shitless. I was really like, because the video went by really fast, I can only remember like one thing that they had to do. And I did not want to be there to know what would happen too, like to know what would happen to other people. But then boom, the timer started. I literally stood there frozen, not knowing what to do, and my friends started working. One of the only way that I can remember to stop a trap was that there was a fuse, and it ran from like the center of the room all the way to the front door where we entered into this quote-unquote theater. I grabbed this disgusting grill brush off the floor and I painted the oil along the fuse to help or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But we had to do that, and my friend was pouring the oil as I painted it across the fuse. Then I stood up and I was like relieved a little bit that all the traps might have been disarmed. But then that's when it got scary. Really scary. The timer ended. 4 people were automatically killed in the most gruesome ways possible. I guess they didn't properly disarm the traps, but it was weird because they were all happy as though they disarmed the traps permanently, and they were all like really like excited to get out of there. But then 2 of them, or also the instructions might have been trick instructions. That's another thing. But 2 of them were pulled into these rooms, into those doors, or 2 or 3 of them were pulled into these rooms like a vacuum type of thing. So the doors would open to this black abyss, and the person would get sucked in there, and the door would slam shut, and then the door would open back up, and their corpses were spit out of the rooms, and none of them had any skin on them anymore. So they were like just complete, you know how those figures look on the anatomy pictures where they don't have any skin, it's just the muscles and everything? That's what they all looked like. And they all looked like they had like all the moisture sucked out of their bodies. Like, it was really, really bizarre. And then the other people got, the other like 1 or 2 people, they got sucked into those complicated metal traps and just split into pieces. Blood everywhere. And the sucking noise was what really bothered me. It was like, it was very, very creepy. And I looked over in horror to the other 3 remaining people, including my friend. And they were all laying dead on the ground. I mean, lying dead on the ground. I was like, oh shit. If I step anywhere, I could be pulled into one of these traps or rooms like a magnet or something. Like, it just seemed like, instead of like in traps where like people are already in the traps, it seemed like in this room, like people had like magnets put inside of them or something so that they would be pulled to these traps automatically when they would go off and be put through them. So then I saw the theater door opened, and these 3 intruders came in there. They looked like they'd been through something, but they looked very angry. They had already been playing the game for sure, maybe. I gasped. Sorry. I gasped in horror because all of them had guns. They were about to kill me. And then the 3 people who were supposedly dead, they rose up from the ground and used the tools to kill the intruders brutally. And I mean brutally. And this is where the Saw music kicked in, where it went like, "Da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na." And this is where they were just bashing their heads in and shit, and just like there was just blood squirting everywhere. And then they took the intruders and they turned them into puzzle pieces, like, or they did certain things, like one of them, they took the guy's nose and they shaped it and carved it until it fit into this puzzle shape, this sharp, round puzzle shape. The tip of his nose was like a puzzle piece. They took this other guy's neck and they carved a puzzle piece shape into his neck. And then they took the girl and they turned her hand or finger or something into a puzzle piece too somehow. And that's when I saw the flashbacks. And I saw flashbacks to earlier in my movie or something. As if this was all a movie and not real life. And I saw these dead people just lying around outside. And apparently the groundskeeper, he was discussing with the detective about these dead people who had puzzle pieces carved into them and stuff, and one of them had their nose turned into a puzzle piece and something. And then there was a little girl too. She was a little girl on a swing set, and she had a puzzle piece carved into her neck, and she was dead, and she was white like a corpse, and she was dead. And also, the three guys who pretended like they were dead, they took these intruders and they placed them at the front door. And there were these three shapes in the front door. And the only way you could get out of this room was to use those puzzle pieces that you made out of people's flesh to open up the door. So they used the three people to open it up. And we escaped, and all I could remember thinking, and I know that this is kind of weird, all I could remember thinking was like, this is not a very good twist. Like, I remembered thinking like, I can't wait to review this movie because I went through hell, and I can't wait to talk about how shitty this twist was. You know, like, I'm gonna rant about how this was the stupidest twist in the series. This is definitely one of the worst movies in the series because of the stupid twist at the end and just how irritating it was to be put through an actual saw trap. So, yeah, that was my dream. What do you think of that? I wasn't even thinking about Saw yesterday, too. I think it was from watching Strange Brew, you know, from the two people getting, like, trapped in the asylum and stuff like that. And, you know, at the end when they get trapped inside the beer vat and the beer comes in or whatever. Like, I don't know, though. Like, it was very, very insane. And it was just, it was so real and it was so, like, uncomfortable to have, like, that door slam shut and realize that, like, I paid money thinking I was going to see the next movie, and I ended up being put into the movie itself and being put into Saw. It was scary. So yeah, like, honestly, they should make this nightmare into a movie, because, like, thinking about it, it's like, honestly, you could craft this nightmare into an actual story in a movie, and you could make it make sense, and I guarantee it would be pretty damn good. So, yeah, Saw goes on vacation, or whatever, like, so, yeah, please like this video and comment, and tell me what you thought of this weird Saw dream. I am definitely going to be using some of the elements in it for another script that I'm working on. A few of the elements will fit in really well. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Because, you know, I'm sure I'll have another weird one in the future that is just like this, or if not even worse. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.